We could like maybe take a few questions from the audience. Sure. Like yeah. Right now we're right now we have about 1,000 people working on site, and with the expansion to 150 gigawatt hours, we expect there will be some sort of efficiency that's gained, but it's still probably on the order of 10,000 people working on that. Yeah.
All the power walls and power packs that we're sending out are built right here today. So that's operational in the building behind you.
Sure. Sorry? Oh yeah, so recycling, good point. I should have mentioned. So we've actually, we'll have recycling at the Gigafactory itself. So all battery packs will be recycled, which actually makes a lot of sense because this is a real efficient way to recycle it because we know what the module looks like. So we can actually design the recycling machines that are exactly optimized for the battery pack because we're not trying to recycle any arbitrary battery pack, we're recycling a known battery pack. So we can be really precise about the recycling. Yeah.
Yeah, and recycling is really awesome because most people don't think about this, but a lithium battery, when we build it, and even if after you use it for 15 or 20 years, at the end of that time, all of the materials that we built into the battery are still in there. None of them have been dispersed into the environment. We didn't burn any of them. All the metals, all of the interesting materials are still there. And today, when we make a new battery, materials are the most expensive part of that whole process. So if we can get that same batch of materials back into the factory for almost no cost, the cost of transporting it there, it's a chance to reduce the whole materials budget on that new cell massively. So that's kind of what the future holds for recycling here.
And I should mention also that when the Gigafactory is fully operational, it will be also completely operated on sustainable energy. So we're using geothermal energy, or geothermal for climate control, and then wind, which obviously has to be brought in from other places, and then solar on the roof. And the combination of the wind, geothermal, and solar will completely power the Gigafactory. So, yeah. Sure. Yeah, so the question is like, what about putting plants in other parts of the world? It's definitely going to make sense to have at least a Gigafactory in every continent. Because otherwise the logistics cost and the energy taken to transport cars halfway around the world is quite high. So we'll kind of reach saturation here, and then we're going to establish a factory in Europe and a factory in Asia, well, in China and perhaps in other parts of Asia as well. So, so I think it's going to make a lot of sense to localize the production to the demand. Sure, in the back there.
What percent of the output would be for autos versus solar panels?
Yeah, so what percentage of the output is likely to be for cars versus for stationary storage batteries? In the beginning, I think it's probably going to be on the order of like roughly a third stationary storage, something like that, call it 30–35%. But over time, I think probably they will roughly equalize. There'll be roughly about as much, as many batteries for stationary storage as there are for cars. And if you do this sort of really overarching math of like what's needed at a very high level to transition the world to a sustainable energy scenario, that about works out. You need about as much battery capacity in cars as you do in stationary storage. I'd encourage. Yeah. Well, teleportation, right? Model 3 is going well. I'm pretty happy with how it's going. I'm really excited by the approach that the Tesla engineering team is taking to production. I think people are really taking it to heart within Tesla that it's actually even more important to design the factory than it is to design the product itself. This is extremely important for making an affordable, high-quality car in volume. And so I'm actually feeling really, really optimistic about it. I mean, we completed design a couple weeks ago. So its design is, yeah. So design is done. I mean, usually as you do more testing, there's some tweaks required, but we are benefiting from a lot of experience with the Model S and X. So I'm feeling very good about it.
Yeah, there's some really cool innovations. We can't talk about all the stuff inside of it, but it is definitely a third generation of a lot of the components and a lot of the systems that we designed originally, for Roadster and then Model S and X. So it's come a long way.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll just do a few more questions because I think this could go on for a while. All right, here, sure. Oh, hey, Norway, love Norway. Pardon me? Chips for recycling. Oh, chips. Oh, it's like chips. You mean chips? Chips, yes. There's definitely. I mean, ultimately, all forms of terrestrial transport will go electric. I don't currently anticipate Tesla doing ships, but if someone else doesn't. Sure, yeah. So yeah, the lithium question comes up quite a bit. The nice thing about lithium is it's very plentiful. So lithium is the third most common element in the universe, first being hydrogen, second being helium. Now the hydrogen is all bound up in water on Earth, water and hydrocarbons. And so you don't find naturally occurring hydrogen on Earth. And then the helium, being a noble gas, just doesn't combine with anything and basically floats away. But lithium is a metal and does not float away. So there's an enormous amount of lithium. In almost any salty solution, there's some amount of lithium. So there's enormous amounts of lithium in the ocean, any kind of dried lake bed where there was a salt lake that dried long ago, there will be enormous amounts of lithium. So the actual amount of lithium in the world is far in excess of what's needed for electrification of transport. Lithium only constitutes about 2% of the battery. So it's called lithium ion, but it's sort of the active ingredient, but it's only about 2% of the battery.
Yeah, so there's plenty of lithium to convert every car in the world to electric. That won't be a constraint at all. And even after that's done, we can start recycling it. So we won't keep using lithium. It's not like oil or something like that. I've heard a lot of those comparisons like peak lithium, which is kind of nonsense. Because once you build this fleet of electric cars, you don't need any more of it. It's just you can just keep reusing it and reprocessing it forever.
Well, I'll take just a couple more questions. Forklift batteries. Well, we do need to focus. So we won't be doing forklift batteries in the short term because we need to kind of stay focused on the Model 3 particularly in the short term. And then probably a compact SUV is the next priority. We have an interesting concept for creating kind of like a minibus on the Model X platform. And it's actually quite surprising how many people you can get on a Model X if you make it sort of look a bit like a little bus. Focus is critical because there's so many things that could be done, but if we don't focus, then it puts risk that we won't get anything done. I think in terms of how can you help, I think just sort of spread the message, and that, like, I mean, I know you guys think global warming is real, but the crazy thing is, like, a lot of people out there don't. It blows my mind, and there's a nonstop propaganda campaign from the fossil fuel industry because they're just defending themselves. So it's kind of what you'd expect, but it's nonstop, and they have like 1,000 times more money than we do. So this revolution is going to come from the people. So. So I just fight the propaganda. Like that's the, I think it's going to get real nutty with the U.S. election and all that. And man.
Maybe one more.
All right, we'll take one more. Well, we'd love to do the next Roadster, but we got to focus on affordable mass market cars. I would love to do the next Roadster. Are you kidding me? Of course. But that's got to be dessert. You know,
There's a lot of stuff to do already on our plate, but I think we better wrap it up with that. So
yeah.
Thank you guys very much. This is
awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate it.
All right.